Jussie Smollett update. Charges against Empire actor dropped, not an exoneration, prosecutor says. Now, this story...
this is weird.
Now, you know what? The police... the police, it's not... I don't know if it's covered in this story or not, but I saw just before we went live here, as I was scrolling through my phone, that the Chicago police have actually released all of the files pertaining to this case. Because,
we can go read it?
Yeah.
We can read the Smollett?
You can actually go and look at the police files that have been released because they were, like, so pissed about this that they're like, look at what we have on this guy that they let him go.
So, basically, something came down from on high.
Yes.
That was like, Jussie Smollett you need to drop this.
Right. And Jussie Smollett did... One of the things they cited in his... the thing is that he did 16 hours of community service. His 16 hours of community service were doing work for the organization that's controlled by Jesse Jackson. Jesse Jackson, of course, being a very powerful figure in Chicago.
Right.
So it's possibly that connection. Maybe it's the fact that he's paid $100,000 to the city.
Isn't he friends with Obama?
He is friends with Obama.
Obama's
as well.
a huge Chicago politician.
So Jussie Smollett is well connected with the upper echelon.
So that's exactly what happened. One of these powerful dudes that are friends with him made a phone call and got this thing tossed out. Got it squashed.
Disorderly conduct charges against Empire actor Jussie Smollett, who was accused of staging a racist and homophobic attack on himself, were dropped Tuesday. Cook County prosecutors said charges were dropped after reviewing the circumstances of the case, as well as Smollett's community service and forfeiture of his bond, which was $100,000. Smollett appeared in court Tuesday and thanked all of his supporters. And, of course, now he's gone back to, I guess he never dropped the claim that it was a legitimate attack. There's no way this attack was legitimate. There's a mountain of evidence against this guy. We know that it was the two Nigerian brothers who did this. They had they had nooses and all the equipment for the attack in their home. He called them just before the attack. He called them just after the attack.
I mean, not to mention,
there's no white MAGA hat wearing dudes on any of the fucking surveillance cameras in the area. I mean, it's
100% a fabricated story.
He is 100. I'm not gonna even fucking use any sort of words like alleged. He is fucking guilty of this crime. He is fucking guilty, and he's not being charged.
Well, dude, we heard the thing. Taylor had some press conference on when we were driving somewhere yesterday, and we heard them speaking. I'm like, okay, so the mayor and the police chief. So I'm expecting, not knowing this about the case, I'm like, they're going to get up there and say, well, I guess we made some huge mistake, and something's come to light to exonerate him. And instead, they're just like, they basically trashed what they just trashed the decision of the prosecutor, and like, this makes no sense, and this guy's pretty much guilty.
This is an all too common example of something that is just a fact of life in America and probably in the world, but I'll just speak for here.
Sure.
There are two justice systems, one for the rich and one for the rest of us. And this is just like, this is no different than something that happens all the time, all over this country. DUI charges are swept under the rug. People's records are wiped clean when they otherwise would have done jail time and had a permanent stain.
Well, you remember that?
This happens all the time.
Was it the wealth kid or something? Like he was like a victim of having too much wealth.
Right? Yeah, the affluenza kid.
Affluenza.
I mean, that's just
yeah.
But here's the thing: most of these things, when they happen, don't get any kind of traction in the press. They're just swept under the rug. It's business as usual. Every once in a while, one of these gets big press coverage and everybody gets outraged. But let me disabuse you of any notion that this isn't the status quo. If you've got, like, part of what he was able to do that you would never be able to do is forfeit that $100,000 bond. That was nothing to him. If you were under a $100,000 bond, you'd be fighting them charges, motherfucker. You'd be going to court. See, different justice system for the rich. If you got this, you got a way out. If you don't, you're going to fucking jail.
Planned Parenthood sites across Ohio received notice of state funding termination. Cleveland, Ohio. Planned Parenthood locations across Ohio on Thursday received notice from the Ohio Department of Health that their state funding will end next month. The notice comes following a federal appeals court ruling this month that upheld a 2016 Ohio law forbidding the state from sending preventative health funding to an organization or affiliate of an organization that performs or promotes non-therapeutic abortions. The law was signed by former Governor John Kasich.
Well, this is ridiculous because you know when average Planned Parenthood, what percentage of their procedures are abortions?
Like 1% or 2%.
Yeah, most of it is like
3%.
condoms and STD
Sex
checks
education.
and sex education and like
All the good stuff they were going to do, that 97% of other shit they were going to do is going to be affected by
mammograms
this
so that
3%.
women don't get breast cancer and have it go unchecked. Like all of these things are done at Planned Parenthood, and none of these things are going to be done. Like in Ohio too. This sounds like a story that should be coming out of fucking Kentucky or some shit.
Ohio is
It's weird.
a lot
the
of
politics there are very
the
strange.
DNC. I don't know if you guys know this, but the DNC has actually kind of started signaling that it's giving up Ohio as a swing state, and they're starting to write it off as a red state. So Ohio is becoming more and more firmly red at this point. And abortion is a big mover and shaker of this issue up there. It's really like there's a huge opposition politically to abortion in that state. So it's really not surprising to see this happening. And of course, it does border. I think it shares a border with Kentucky. So really not too surprising.
Yeah, I don't know. I just never thought of Ohio as a deep red place where they'd be doing the stupid, like, let's challenge Roe v. Wade here at the state level and see what happens.
I can see why
Because that this is going to be challenged and struck down in a higher court. This is going to go to a district court, and it's going to be struck down as a violation of the precedent set by Roe v. Wade for access to fucking health services for women and blah, 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 blah. It's just like these states are constantly... One of those... Wasn't one recently struck down here? Wasn't there a Louisiana law that was about to go into effect that was going to defund Planned Parenthood?
I believe so.
And it was recently struck
Or
down.
it was
in
Mississippi. It was one of these two states.
one of these bordering states. So it's just a constant thing. People are constantly testing it, and it's constantly getting... It's like a political maneuver. It's so that the politicians that are serving these people that have these anti-abortion sentiments can say, hey, look, we did something.
Yeah,
Oops.
Use the abortion maneuver.
But the liberal circuit courts legislated from the bench again. You know?
Support for abortion in Ohio is at about 48%.
Makes sense, then.
So it's a little bit under half.
I mean, we lived in
that
Ohio
support it.
for like 3.5, 4 years.
Places like Mississippi, like Louisiana, it's 39%, so we're about 10 points behind them.
Jesus Christ,
Kentucky
man.
is 36.
Well, this is a very...
Get me out of this place.
Southern Louisiana is very Catholic, too. So that definitely informs a lot of people's opinions.
So let's see. If we look at, like, let's say California, California is only 57%. Alaska actually has a higher support for abortion at 63%.
Let's go to Alaska.
District of Columbia, 70%, 74% in Massachusetts. But actually, Ohio actually does have more abortion support than a lot of these states I'm looking at. So it's kind of around the same level as Wyoming, which is also at 48%. Texas is at about 45%. So Ohio is not too far off from where Texas is at, or Utah at 47%. So that's kind of interesting stuff. But it's kind of middle of the pack in terms of abortion support. But as far as their legislature goes, their legislature is very anti-abortion. They've been leading the charge on the abortion issue.
Ohio's like a very good general like template for like the U.S. because it's kind of always like in the middle on everything. It really is. If you look at most lists, Ohio is like usually like in the 20s.
So maybe Ohio becoming a red state shows the Overton window moving to the right then.
It very well
if you
could.
think about it in those terms.
Oh man, get me back to the Berenstein universe, please.
Berenstein
the liberal
universe
globalist
now.
utopia.
Yep. We'd all be fat and happy living in VR right now if
Instead
it was
of fat and sad
Yep.
like we are now.